morning, people. Welcome back to F Politics. This week really is the week that the Tories admit defeat on Brexit when it comes to trade with the EU, trade with the United States and Northern Ireland. And it is delicious. Now, so that we're all on the same page, let's explain the basics. The core idea behind Brexit was this idea of taking back control of our laws. But the problem with that is, if the products made in the UK and the products made in the EU don't follow the same rules, then when you're trying to sell stuff between the EU and the UK, that stuff has to be checked. There needs to be paperwork. Which is why people like me from as early as May 2016 said,
leaving the EU wouldn't mean we'd have to pass the same laws, but it would mean that in order to stay competitive, we'd end up having to do the same things, but simply not have control over which direction the commercial world takes.
And last night, Rishi Sunak said he's considering making it so that every new law the UK passes has to be screened to make sure it doesn't create any new trade barriers in the Irish Sea. What that means in practice is that every new law the UK makes is going to have to be checked to make sure it doesn't go too far away from whatever the EU's doing. Because peace in Northern Ireland after decades of civil war effectively depends on an open border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland and between Northern Ireland and Britain. Which is why, again, in 2018, people like me warned, the only way to avoid creating such a border is for the United Kingdom to remain within the rule system of the EU. But if that happens, what the hell was the point in Brexit? Right now we have one of the biggest voices in setting the rules of the EU, and you want to give that up so we can be bound to following the rules of the EU but having no say over them? Brexit was supposed to be us taking back control, not giving it up. But you do have a third option. Northern Ireland, on its own, could remain within the rule system of the EU, and along with breaking up the country, it would mean that Northern Ireland, having given up its seat in the EU, would have no control over its laws. And to pour some more fuel on the fire, it would mean that the Republic of Ireland would have a say over the laws of Northern Ireland, but Northern Ireland wouldn't. That would piss a lot of people off. And yes, it definitely has, because that's the option the Tories went for in 2019, effectively leaving Northern Ireland in the EU single market, its rules system. Which is why Northern Ireland hasn't had a government for 2 years, because the DUP, the party that believes that Northern Ireland is part of the UK and therefore there shouldn't be any hard borders between Northern Ireland and Britain, they've refused to cooperate, which is why Rishi Sunak is now saying, screw it, let's just follow the EU's rules so we don't have any border issues. Which is exactly what I warned would happen back before the referendum in 2016. A Brexit that was sold to people as a way to have more control over our laws is now resulting in us having less control over our laws, exactly as we predicted.
Somehow, I told you so, just doesn't quite say it.
And the Tories have always known this. In 2018, the government's leaked documents showed that no matter what version of Brexit they negotiated, it would make us poorer. And now we're 6 days away from the next phase of Brexit where we start doing checks on imports from the EU, which the Tories have delayed 5 times already because
this would have been an act of self-harm if we'd gone ahead with it. It would have increased costs for people, and we are trying to reduce costs. So that's the purpose of not going ahead with them and trying to ensure that the border flows as smoothly as possible. You were talking about 71% increase maximum level on the retail price, and frankly at that level goods just wouldn't have come in.
And UK industries as recently as 2 days ago have been warning that this is going to make the economy even worse. Meanwhile, you have Kemi Badenoch saying the reason why we haven't been able to get a post-Brexit deal with the US is because Donald Trump lost the election. Now that's crazy for a number of reasons. One, Barack Obama was the president of the US during the referendum, and he told us we'd be at the back of the queue for a deal if we voted to leave the EU. The Brexiteers simply didn't believe him. Two, Donald Trump explicitly said he planned to make the NHS pay more for drugs so that Americans would pay less for their drugs. And right now we have a major medicine shortage, which is already being made worse by Brexit. And Kemi Badenoch is out here saying that her solution to everything is a guy who planned to make the medicine shortage even worse. Again, all this can be fixed. Here's the chief Brexit negotiator from the EU side, Michel Barnier.
The door is open, anytime. I always say that during negotiation, after negotiation, the door remains open.
And lots of Tories are already up in arms about Rishi Sunak's plans now, so the Brexiteers aren't happy with things. Most people hate Brexit and want it overturned. The only question is, what are we going to do about it? I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.